And what he said is, you are a celebrity. There's product here. Right here.
Okay. Hello. Welcome
Sorry,
to episode...
I jumped the gun.
Nah, you're more than welcome to... It's passion. We love passion.
I was excited.
And we're here. It's episode 4. Who'd have thought we'd make it this far, huh?
Numero quattro. Or quadro.
Look at us.
Look at us.
Who'd have thought it? Right.
Not me.
Good week? Good week for you?
Good week for me. Yes. That's my answer.
Good answer.
Thank you. What about you? How's your week been?
Can't complain. I've been quite busy. Watched quite a lot of stuff. Got plenty to discuss.
Plenty to discuss.
I think we've got quite an exciting episode this week. We were talking about it just before we recorded. We were both saying there's a lot to talk about. We're going to have some fun.
We got to rattle through this.
Okay. Let's start as we always do. Comments and emails.
Comments and emails.
I'll do the email first.
Yeah. Okay.
So let me just get that. I should have really come prepared and brought that up, but
we've got an email, everyone.
This is a big email, right? And before I reveal who sent this email, all I'm going to say is the opening line is, unfortunately, I'm not Robert Pattinson, but I do have a question about him.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. There was a bit of hope in me that thought, oh, this is Robert Pattinson.
When I saw an email titled podcast question, the first thing my mind went to was, it has to be Rob.
Yeah, we've talked about him enough.
You'd think we're probably on his radar by now. He's probably heard the episode. So, Rob, without sounding like a stuck record...
We know you're listening. We're on episode 4 now.
We've done at least 4.5 hours
Word travels
of
fast
content.
in Hollywood.
Come on, buddy. Buck up your ideas. Drop us a line. Maybe we'll get you on for an episode if you're nice. So this is from Luke Griffiths, this email. Right. He's got a question about Robert Pattinson.
Go for it.
What's your favourite movie of his? And do you think his role as Batman will usurp Twilight as the biggest role of his career? That's a good question.
Wow.
There's a lot to unpack.
There are 2 very good questions there.
First question. Was it best performance of his first question? I think it was.
Was it best performance or best film? Wait, can we go over that again?
Let me get the email. Best favourite movie of his?
Favourite film of his?
Oh.
That's a very interesting question. He's got a lot of very good films.
Mine's a toss-up between Good Time and High Life.
Good Time and High Life. Really?
I don't think I could pick one. He's just so good in both. And they're so different that it's hard to really stick one as number one.
Good Time and High Life are definitely both in the top 3. And I think to round out the top 3, I would chime in with The Lighthouse.
Oh, I still need to watch that. It's on my shelf right now.
What? You haven't seen it?
I got it for my birthday a few months ago, and I think I'm saving it for the right time when I'm ready for it. It's the same with Uncut Gems. I haven't seen that.
Oh, fuck off! You haven't seen Uncut Gems?
No, and I've watched a lot of Netflix this year. I've watched Coffee and Kareem. You seen that?
Oh, Uncut Gems. I did an impression of the guy.
Yeah, it's a good impression.
Have you heard it?
I've heard it once or twice. Yeah.
Yeah, I whip it out when I can.
It's a party trick. Second question: do we think Batman will usurp Twilight? 100%.
I think Batman has a sort of same level of fan base as Twilight.
Yeah.
But I think the way Twilight was it 4 or 5 films?
I think it was 5.
5, yeah. There were 4 books, and the last one was in 2 halves. So 5 films. I think that's a lot of material. I can't see him being in 5 Batman
No, I
films.
can't either. But I guess it depends on the parameter. Like,
if this film is sort of remembered as well as The Dark Knight or
Batman v Superman,
even the early Batman films with
Mikey.
I don't know. Keaton, of course. That's what Birdman's about.
Great film, Birdman is. I was actually looking at it today, not watching it, but I was doing a letterbox list of going through all the Best Picture nominees and making a list of all the ones I've seen.
Oh, that's
Birdman was up there.
I think the best year gets some really shit nominations for that every year.
I looked through.
Not every
and I was
year,
like,
actually.
wow,
Not every year.
I know of most of these, but I've seen barely any.
Yeah.
So I just don't know. I don't sit down and dedicate my time to that. I'm busy watching Simpsons or something. Keeping it cool over here.
Raw. And have you seen Tenet?
No, not yet. Have you?
I've seen it. It's booked in tomorrow.
Tomorrow? I will try and get around to it before next week so we can
I'm ready to see Rob in another great role.
Maybe it will be his best ever role.
It could be. Because when you said because I was wondering, has he seen Tenet? Is he going to say Tenet? Oh, I did wonder that. But Good Time and High Life they're obvious for me. I think he's also great in The Lost City of Z or Zed.
I do need to watch that. I remember you talking about that.
And that film, he's sort of so out of... I think I've said this exact thing on the podcast before.
I think you might have done. But you have got a point. And he's one of those people. Him and Robert De Niro, I want to watch everything they've been in, but...
he needs an Oscar nomination at least.
He does. Maybe for the Batman. If Joaquin Phoenix can win it for Joker, Rob can win it for Batman.
Oh, don't know about that. I do not know about that.
You, Rob.
But to answer your question, Batman or Mr. Griffiths, I don't know. We will have to see. I can't imagine there'll be a sort of such a ravenous fandom as there is Twilight.
But I do think it will be more widely appreciated than Twilight.
100%. So that's why it's a very interesting question. Thank you, Luke Griffiths.
Thank you for your email, Mr. Griffiths.
And Mr. Pats. That's Mr. Robert Pattinson. If you're listening.
Oh, yes.
We're still waiting.
Come on, buddy.
I check my phone a lot.
I check
email
it
us.
pretty often to see if Rob's.
Yeah.
Just let us know, mate. Okay. Let's look at the comments. We got 4 comments this week. Sadly, our friends from episode 1. Yeah, well, one of them was you.
Yeah, we can go over my comment. That's allowed. I will allow it.
First comment was from Jake Hinton. He's chimed in again. Best episode yet. That Ollie guy seems to have great taste. And then he concludes his comment by saying, and a really nice voice.
Yeah, I saw that comment. Yeah. I replied, I think, that day.
Yes, you did.
With saying, thanks, Jake, very kind of you. Thanks for listening. It's fans like... shock horror, I made a error.
Oh, boy.
So I put, it's fans like that really make it worthwhile. All worthwhile. So I really fumbled the bag there. What I meant to say was, Jake, if you're listening, I'm sure you are, thanks for listening. It's fans like you that really make it all worthwhile. So just like to amend that error. We love the fans. If I didn't think there were 700,000 people cheering my name, I wouldn't do this. But there are, so I do it.
There are. All you got to do is look at the numbers, and then So
yeah, we've seen the YouTube stats. We've seen them.
Yeah, no big deal, guys. Next comment from Jack Ainsworth. A nice comment. Love it, guys.
Love it, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jack. Very kind comment. Get a shout out.
We'll keep doing it for you, buddy.
Yeah, you're another fan that we are doing it for.
We are. You are the type of fan that really makes it worthwhile to quote Ollie Gamble. Our last comment was from Skirp Skirp. This is Joe who made our theme tunes.
Wow.
He commented, can you please review the Netflix interactive short film The Boss Baby, Get That Baby? Would be great to see your breakdown of it and your critical opinion on some of the characters. And you know what? I'd do it. Yeah, I just had a look. I didn't know
I didn't know there was an interactive short film. Do I need to have seen The Boss Baby to get it?
Yeah, maybe get back to us on that, Joe.
So
I might dive in the deep end. News? Time for some news?
News?
There is news.
There
not much news this week.
Let's hear it.
I'll just... That's to celebrate the news.
Wow. What are you drinking tonight? If you're listening, brands.
This is called Strongbow Dark Fruit Cider.
Strongbow Dark Fruit. It's that kind of night. It's that kind of night. Wednesday night. Bloody hell.
We'll start with the WandaVision trailer. What did you make of that?
To be fair, I was very, very impressed by it. Really liked it.
It does seem very different, doesn't it?
Doesn't seem like the normal Marvel shtick.
No. The status quo has been torn to shreds with this one.
And I think any show with Paul Bettany and Elizabeth Olsen leading the cast...
It's impressive enough.
It's impressive.
They're A-listers.
They're both very famous.
But it's quite interesting because now this show is the only one now of any sort of Marvel material that's coming out this year.
Because of Corona.
Because of Corona.
Or the coronavirus, or COVID-19, or SARS-CoV-19.
Or novel something.
Yeah, all that. Any name. Call it by any name. Timothy Chalamet, if you're listening.
Please get in touch with me. So this... I'm not sure when it's set. It's hard to really discern much, because I like how the trailer keeps it on the download. This was initially meant to come out November, and it still is.
Oh, it is.
But everything else has been pushed back, which ties into another little bit of news. Literally half an hour before we sat down for this, Black Widow, meant to be coming out in November this year. It's been moved. Inhumans moved. Plenty's been moved. So this is the only Marvel content we're getting this year. Real shame. But I'm still quite looking forward to this. It doesn't look like it's, I guess, a mainline continuation of the story, but I'm still quite excited. It looks fun. And it's doing something different. And
absolutely. I've absolutely been intrigued by that trailer. The black and white, I wouldn't have imagined that trailer. I didn't really know what... And I'm not going to lie, I've only just got WandaVision is Wanda and Vision. I've only just got that.
What did you think it was?
I was just like, WandaVision, like television, but Wanda.
To be fair, it's probably both.
Yeah, of course. I've only just got that.
Those clever cats.
those suits in their high towers have got me there when they wrote that one out.
The Disney big timers have really had us. Okay, let's talk about the Emmys. Because
the Emmys, the remote Emmys, they did happen. I didn't really. I sort of sometimes watch some of it at some point, maybe.
I didn't realise the Emmys had happened till the morning after, and it was all over Twitter.
Yeah, I'm in that same boat, so to speak.
We'll just mention the big stuff. Schitt's Creek.
Big winner.
Big, huge win. Won Best Comedy, and it won one. I don't know which acting category. It won one of the acting categories that now means over its run it's won all 4 of the acting categories at some point, which is the first time a comedy or drama has ever done this, apparently. That's what I've got written here, but that could be wrong. But that's what News on the Grapevine says.
This is right.
Succession won Best Drama.
Succession, absolutely. I really need to get into that because everyone raves about it. Everyone loves it. They really like it.
Everyone loves Succession. They love success. And Succession is successful, so it probably...
The thing is, I can't really... I can't really say I've seen Succession, so I don't really have any basis on this. But I would give Better Call Saul Outstanding Drama Series, just because it never has actually won. I think this year it was absolutely shaped.
It does always get...
Rhea Seehorn should have won Best...
Oh, she should have won.
Well, Best Lead Actress, really.
Yeah. And there was... we won't obviously
Sorry, Zendaya.
say what it is. Sorry, Zendaya. Have you seen Euphoria?
I haven't seen Euphoria. I have a few friends that have seen it. It's weird, it's good, it's a bit different.
I do want to watch it.
Certainly
as you say, it was a
cracking
cracking season of Better Call Saul, and I don't know how it didn't win anything. It seems every year it gets overlooked. It's a real shame.
And I think it's weird that often Jonathan Banks and Bob Odenkirk haven't been overlooked in the sense that they've been nominated, at least. Yeah. This year, then, they have, and now it's just in... I think it's just really weird.
I agree.
Because
the best show on TV.
That show is absolutely, hands down, the best show on television.
Maybe next year. Did you watch Watchmen?
Well, I've talked about it on the podcast before. I've got the Watchmen comic book from my university library.
I remember you mentioned.
And I do need to. It's because I'm saying I'm going to read this before watching the series, and I've never actually gone right. I'm going to read this, which is doesn't bode well.
It was a big night at the Emmys for Watchmen. Regina King won lead actress in a limited series. The show itself won limited series.
Yeah, and I really want to watch it.
Having seen it, it deserves everyone. It was, and I'm glad it's a limited series. There were rumours there was going to be a season 2. But Damon Lindelof wasn't on board for that, so I think it won't happen, and I don't think it should. is brilliant on its own.
That's always good, and I think that's
Some
another
things are
reason.
good,
That's
sure.
another reason I really wanted to watch it. Damon Lindelof is a brilliant writer. I think
He does some great stuff for that. I haven't seen anything
I think
else
he's
done.
got a bad reputation because of primarily Lost. But I think also I think also Prometheus didn't really help that.
Did he do Prometheus?
Yeah, he wrote some of that, which
Oh.
I think that film has a few odd moments. But I think for me, I think in a way I'm kind of in the minority. But I think for me that film was really good.
I think it's solid.
Yeah, I think it has a few moments of silliness.
Mm.
But I think on the whole that film was really good, and I was
Just
really
for being
gripped.
billed as a prequel to Alien, I don't think it quite did enough with the property. But no, I do see what you mean.
I think
it wasn't the writing's fault, really.
I think it went for a sort of different story.
Yeah, and people didn't want that. People want to know where the alien came from. Last bit of Emmy news. We have touched on this one. Zendaya, the youngest recipient of Best New
Zendaya
Actress
is
in a Drama.
Michi.
Well done,
LeBron
Zendaya.
James is Gwangi.
Sorry, what's going
Danny
on?
DeVito is Dorgo. It's a song.
Where's this from?
It's on Twitter. I'll send it to you at some point.
Please do. Maybe we'll retweet it.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good little video of just this guy. There's a poster for, I think it was The Abominable Snowman. Was that a film?
Yes, I have heard of that. Or it's got Abominable, I think it's called.
Yeah, I think that is correct. Yeah, and it's just this guy walking past this poster for this film that has all the characters. It's just each poster is a character with the actor who's playing that character.
Well,
And then this guy sort of walks past them and sings a song about it. And
It sounds like something you'd see on TikTok.
this was pre-TikTok, my friend.
Oof. Okay, let's get on to She-Hulk. Because this
She-Hulk?
week, this is another one of the Disney
What
Plus
are you
Marvel
talking
shows.
about? I've never heard of this. Tell me more.
Well, I can tell you from reliable sources
Right.
that
That's always
Tatiana
good.
Maslany, who is the lead in Orphan Black. Have you seen Orphan Black?
I've seen the first half of Series 1. I've been meaning to finish finish the series. But from what I've seen, it's very watchable, very good, and Tatiana Maslany is absolutely fantastic.
Well, she is set to play the She-Hulk. Real name
She can
Jennifer
do
Walters.
that. I trust her.
Bruce Banner's cousin, apparently, who becomes She-Hulk after a blood transfusion from Bruce. But
Right.
as I've jotted down here, it's not... So little has been confirmed that it's hard to say whether they will stick to this origin, especially as you can't really do that storyline without getting Mark Ruffalo in there. And would he
No.
do that? Is he contractually obliged? We don't know.
Well,
We'll
I
have to
think
wait and
Mark
see.
Ruffalo... Does Mark Ruffalo love it, or does he hate Marvel? He could hate
I feel like
Marvel.
he's in it enough.
Yeah, but
He's not like...
I feel like he's
not dipped.
Yeah, I think he likes it.
But would he like it enough to do a TV show? Who knows? I bet it will happen off screen if they stick.
Nah, I
stick
think Mark
to this.
Ruffalo's up for it. That's my prediction. That's my 10 pence.
I think it'll be 8 episodes long. The first episode is directed by Kat Coiro, and she's also on to executive produce. She's previously directed episodes on It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia and Dead to Me, so it's quite the resume.
It's Always Sunny. I've been watching a few episodes of that recently, actually.
Oh, any good?
Very funny. It wouldn't be allowed today, but I think it's not because it's an interesting show. There's a lot of sort of stuff that is sort of racist, but then it's satirizing that. So I think it's one of those that sort of is this okay?
Yeah.
And I think it does that balance for me at least. People, please email in if you think I'm wrong. Please tell me I'm wrong. It gets that balance right, but it's basically about they're all dickheads basically. They're all absolute pricks, but funny stuff happens to them, and I think because they're pricks, it makes it funnier.
I've been meaning to watch that show for
But
a while.
it is funny. It is funny.
And then the last news we have on the She-Hulk show. Well, this isn't actually news. This has been known. Jessica Gao, showrunner, and I had to write. I couldn't look over this. She wrote the Pickle Rick episode of Rick and Morty.
You're a big fan of the Pickle Rick episode.
I haven't seen the Pickle Rick episode, but maybe we'll get a pickled She-Hulk. That's what I'm really hoping for.
Really?
I don't think this show's got a release date yet because all those Marvel shows they've announced them really far in advance. But I'm quite looking forward to this. As long as it's got the budget to make the CGI convincing, I think it'll be a fun time.
You talk about She-Hulk.
Yeah, sorry, not Rick and Morty.
I was thinking about Pickle Rick, to be honest. But yeah, I think Tatiana Maslany, she's brilliant. Marvel budget, that's good.
It's often high.
I think the writing obviously has to be good, but I think I've only seen the first series of Jessica Jones, but I did think that was a very good series. But then they've sort of
brilliant.
They've sort of put that aside a bit.
Yeah, I don't think that's even canon now.
Which is a shame because I only watched the series because of David Tennant, but David Tennant was fantastic.
He was great. I still think
he's brilliant.
Minimum Jessica Jones and Daredevil, they'll get the original cast back once they get the rights from Netflix because I never finished Jessica Jones, but I did watch all of Daredevil and I love Daredevil. It's one of my favourite shows. It's a bit slow to start, but it really hits.
You've told me before. Yeah, I've watched the first episode, but never watched further than that.
Oh man! Last bit of news. This was actually input by Ollie Gamble, so I'll let you take the lead on this one.
I've put in a bit of news because I'm sort of divulging a bit from the mainstream content, but this is gaming news. I play video games, guys. Sometimes, occasionally. Basically, this is pretty big news actually in the gaming industry. Microsoft has purchased Bethesda. I think it's Bethesda Softworks is the proper name. That's the sort of the big company name, which is a publisher. They have made huge games,
humongous games,
like both some of the biggest games
and popular
ever made, in the shape of Skyrim is the one that comes to mind, I think, for a lot of people, but also the whole Fallout series. They've made, I think they've made them.
The Doom reboot, didn't they?
They've done Doom, I think, and then as a publishing company, they've made their own sort of games that they've developed themselves, Bethesda Game Studios. But then there's also Bethesda Softworks, which has published a number of games from Rage, Dishonored, Doom, The Evil Within, Wolfenstein: The New Order, Dishonored 2, obviously, and Prey was a big one, which was also developed by the same studio as Dishonored. So this is a big play from Xbox.
It's huge. You do have to wonder, what I'm most curious about is what do you think this will mean if you've got a PlayStation?
If you've got a PlayStation, well, it's been put out there that by Todd Howard, the in charge of Bethesda Game Studios, I think. He might be higher up in the larger company. I don't know. But he put out a statement saying, we're being bought by... But this is in as many words. We're being bought by Microsoft, so we sort of have ties to Xbox. But basically they said games should still be coming out on other consoles, so PC. Yeah. Well, actually, PC... Microsoft is PC as well.
Yeah. That was my big worry.
But I think...
when it was announced.
From what's been seen so far, I think it's been implied that PlayStation shouldn't be affected by this. But it's still a huge purchase. And even if it's not for, game exclusivity, Bethesda games make a lot of money. So it's a smart business move. I believe it was purchased for $7.5 billion. Is that correct?
Oh, wow.
Which is a huge... But, I mean, we're talking about Microsoft here. These guys have fuck off money. Yeah, $7.5 billion US.
Jesus Christ. Do you think they'll do... Because, with those Tomb Raider sequels recently, they were like Xbox timed exclusive for a year or so. Do you think they would do that sort of model? Or do you think it will just be It's certainly possible that they will do that in the same way that at the moment PlayStation has sort of got Call of Duty on some sort of deal, but I don't believe that they're doing timed exclusive. So they might take it that one step further, but they might not. Only time will tell. It's a shame, all this exclusivity.
Yeah, I completely agree.
And we're quite lucky because we've both got PS4s, and I think if you compare this generation of PS4 and Xbox One, PS4 definitely had the better exclusives.
Absolutely.
But the fact you can't get a game if you've got a certain console is a shame.
Absolutely. I think, as a fan of a lot of PlayStation games, I think it's a shame that a lot of people who don't have PlayStation, which is a lot of people, can't play these games because, they're brilliant. And I think I think it would just be smart business from PlayStation. I think it would be smarter business from PlayStation if they owned, Naughty Dog, Sucker Punch Productions, Santa Monica Studios. They own these companies, and these games are then put out on Xbox as well. That's money in the bag.
It is. There's no downside to it other than you lose your exclusives, but people are going to buy your console anyway.
Yeah, and I think they're underestimating how many people only buy one console.
Yeah, there's if you think about how well like The Last of Us sells anyway, imagine how much more it would sell if it was on Xbox too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's just hope this Bethesda news only means they've got more money to invest in making their games.
And if it doesn't, then very smart business. I would, even though Bethesda have sort of been on the down recently.
I'd have to have a long and hard think.
But yeah, I think smart business from Microsoft, probably. A lot of money, but Microsoft has that kind of money. But
I'm sure it'll pay off.
That's my news.
That's the news. It was not too much this week, so we've got plenty of time to go through our main section. So let's get into it. This is quite a fun idea we've got, and it's annoying because there was a podcast I was listening to where I got this idea because they basically had done an episode that was like franchises that should die. So then I thought, I can adapt that a little bit. Sequels that should come out. And then, lo and behold, the week after they released an episode on their Dream sequels too. So I promise we haven't copied anyone. It's just an unfortunate coincidence.
Right, okay.
So we've each got 2 sequels that don't currently exist. They might one day, who knows? Or they may never exist. That we want and why we want them. So, do you want me to start with my first one?
Get the ball rolling, my friend.
Okay. Well, this one is a sequel that may actually exist one day. And it kind of follows in the vein of... I'm trying to think of an example off the top of my head. You know when a sequel comes out years and years later to the original film and ignores the previous sequels?
Oh, ignores. Okay, not Blade Runner.
I'm trying to... Neil Blomkamp was doing Alien 5 and that would have ignored...
Right.
Alien 3 and Alien Resurrection. That is that vein. This is RoboCop Returns. Funny enough,
and who was going to direct that?
Well, Neil Blomkamp was signed on to direct. This was announced...
This happened before.
Announced 2018 as a direct sequel to the original RoboCop, which also... We did touch on RoboCop last week, so...
We did.
Full circle.
Good chat.
With the original screenwriter Ed Neumeyer back on.
What?
It would have ignored RoboCop 2, RoboCop 3, the reboot, and the 2 TV shows and TV movies we've had along the way, which, from what I've seen, for the best. So Neil Blomkamp was on to direct. The script went through a few chops and changes, then he dropped out last summer. But as far as we knew, it was still in development. He sounded quite passionate about it, which is a shame. He was talking about how loyal they wanted to be to the original and Paul Verhoeven's vision of stuff. They wanted the original suit, but there was no news on whether any of the original cast members would come back, because luckily most of the cast members are still alive and in a position to do it. And I think if you're going to do a sequel that close to the original, you probably need them on in some capacity. But no news on that. Neil Blomkamp dropped out August 2019.
I think they fucked it.
Do you think it's dead in the water?
Yeah, I think if they wanted to make that kind of film, they should have made it instead of making that RoboCop reboot. Yeah,
I do see what you mean.
That was their chance. They fucked it. That film wasn't what people liked.
No, it was all right, but it wasn't, as you say, what people wanted.
Yeah.
Abe Forsyth signed on to direct RoboCop Returns in November last year. Mm-hmm. So not even a year ago. He did Little Monsters with Lupita Nyong'o. But that's the last news we've heard, nearly a year ago. There's not been anything since. So it's not been officially canned.
Right.
But at the same time, we haven't heard anything. And I think it's probably best to err on the side of pessimism there and say it's probably done. If it was going to happen, it would have happened. We would have heard something in the past year, be it some casting or even a studio saying they're picking it up. So hopefully RoboCop will return one day, because it sounds
I'm sure
like
it will. I'm sure
concept.
It will. I think, Verhoeven's original is a classic for sure.
It is. It's a masterpiece. And it's too big a franchise to just die.
Yeah, and I think people will cash in on that eventually, and hopefully we'll get something of, some kind of quality.
I hope so. And this would have been this is not the first, as we were saying, Neil Blomkamp's done it a few times now. He's signed on to do something really exciting and then dropped out. And I do wonder whether he's maybe lost the momentum he had at the early stages of last decade after District 9, where everyone wanted him as the big new sci-fi director. I think maybe he's now fallen a little bit off the wagon, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely.
But hopefully we'll hear about it.
I'm sure we will. I've got a sequel.
Go on.
So, my first sequel that I'm going to say, and I'm going to prelude this with both the sequels that I've got are sequels of David Fincher films.
Got a fan over here.
Yeah. That was expressed in the last episode. Fans will already know that.
This is true. All thousands of them.
Oh, 700,000.
700,000, that's the one.
So, David Fincher made an adaptation of Stieg Larsson's The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, which is one of the most read books of the last sort of 20 years.
Yeah.
And it was planned that the sequels, The Girl Who Played with Fire and The Girl Who Kicked the Hornet's Nest, would be filmed almost back to back with The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo adaptation. David Fincher's adaptation starred Rooney Mara as Elizabeth Salander and Daniel Craig as Mikhail Blomqvist. Blomqvist, yeah, that's the right one. And I thought they were... One of the reasons I wanted this sequel is Daniel Craig and Rooney Mara had sort of very good chemistry, I thought.
Yeah, the cast was great. It really worked, that film.
It was a very good cast. David Fincher's direction worked really well with the sort of the way that the film, the book.
It does seem like the perfect narrative for him.
Absolutely.
His style.
And a lot of people who are listening, they'll say, "Oh, you've got to watch the original Swedish version." I know you're right. I absolutely accept that you are right, but I do believe, having not seen the original, I do believe that the American version gets a bit of a stigma because it's sort of an American version of a successful foreign film. But I think the mere fact of David Fincher's involvement, the score from Trent Atticus, no, I've fucked that up. Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross.
There we go.
Is brilliant. The whole setup. It's just brilliant. I can never know what to say.
It's a great film. It's very.
And I think a lot of people compare Rooney Mara to Noomi Rapace. And obviously her performance is brilliant, but I think it depends on what you prefer. But I think the difference that Rooney Mara brought was a sort of a tenderness to the role, and a sort of vulnerability. And I really like that, and I thought that's what really shone through from the books. I think she captured really well.
Yeah.
And I thought I remember reading through The Girl Who Played with Fire, and I remember being absolutely gripped. The second one really gripped me. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't finish the third one. I thought it got a bit silly, but that's okay. That's okay. The second one was brilliant, and I would have loved to have seen it. So that's my first sequel.
But did you see? They did make a pseudo sequel, didn't they?
Yeah, they did, and well,
have you seen it?
I have. Oh, did I fucks it? I was too upset.
Sorry.
I was too upset. They got Fede Alvarez, who had directed films like Evil Dead and Don't Breathe, so sort of horror films.
Evil Dead reboot.
Oh, really? Interesting. And they cast. They got rid of Rooney Mara and they cast Claire Foy.
Yeah.
Which was when that was announced, I was sort of interested because I had recently watched The Crown, and in The Crown, Claire Foy is absolutely fantastic. So I think she can definitely pull this off. I was obviously upset that Rooney Mara had been replaced because I thought she was brilliant.
She was gone. The cast was quite good. It had Lakeith Stanfield in it.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was about to say. It did have a that's all right. Had a great cast. Lakeith Stanfield, Sylvia Herx, who was really kind of creepy in Blade Runner 2049. And then Lakeith Stanfield is brilliant, and also Stephen Merchant. So, and I remember seeing that cast and just thinking, that is a good cast. I am intrigued. I like some of the books. Well, what I've read, but I never watched it.
That they did that. I've seen it, and it's.
You've seen The Girl in the Spider's Web.
I've seen The Girl in the Spider's Web. It's not great. It's not a good film.
And how does it compare to David Fincher's?
It's not got. It feels a lot more saturated a lot more generic.
Yeah, and I think that is the problem.
Lakeith is the best part of it, but it
Really?
doesn't have.
Oh, I may have to
nuance
watch
of
it for
the
that.
plot
I do
just
like
got-
Lakeith.
You should watch it because he's good in it.
Oh, I'll watch that then.
But it does feel a bit too Hollywood. Fincher's one doesn't feel Hollywood. It feels gritty. And it was atmospheric and really tense. This wasn't. It felt much more action, and it's easy to lose interest with it, which is a shame. I think they should have waited, because surely the reason they didn't do that sequel with the original cast is because of contracts and
I think it was.
whatever.
I think it didn't make the money that was expected. But I think because the book was so huge, they expected sort of a massive return. I don't think it quite. But I mean, it made $230 million at the box office, which is a lot.
That's
but I
not
think,
bad.
considering sort of how big the novels were, I imagine they
And the
may have
cast as
expected.
well.
And I also think the cast. I think Daniel Craig. I apologise if you're listening. Email in and let us know if I'm wrong.
Please do, Dan.
But I think he would have been asking for quite a high paycheck, and I think they thought they could reboot it, which is weird, disappointing. So yeah, sorry, I've rambled on a bit, but that is my sequel.
Okay, my second sequel, and this is one that was very much in production, and I remember at the time I was very excited for. And then it disappeared without a trace. That's Spider-Man 4. Sam Raimi, obviously. A continuation of that.
So you're thinking
series.
Tobey Maguire back in the role?
I'm thinking Tobey, Kirsten Dunst, Mr. James Franco.
Really?
All of them were set to come back. This was meant to come out in 2011.
Really?
All the main cast were due to be back.
This is news to me.
It was deep in. There was John Malkovich. He was on to play the Vulture.
Who was he going to play? As Vulture, okay.
Yeah, Anne Hathaway was also on to do Black Cat, which is funny that she ended up being Catwoman.
That's what I was going to say.
And they were also... You remember in Spider-Man 2, Kirk Connors is in there. You see him when Peter's going to school or something. He would have finally moved up to being more of a prominent antagonist role as the Lizard. But other than that, nothing else really came out about the plot. And it was quite an amicable decision to split. It was mainly cancelled because production was taking a while. It became clear that 2011 was not going to be a feasible release date, as Sony already in the back of their mind had plans for a reboot, as eventually emerged in 2012 with The Amazing Spider-Man. Raimi went through 4 versions of the script and still wasn't happy with any, because he initially wasn't happy with Spider-Man 3 anyway. He didn't want Venom in there. He didn't feel like he had as much control over it. So I think at the end of the day, when they had so much trouble, and they knew Sony had ideas of their own, I think Sam Raimi decided to just cut his losses.
Yeah, I
and
imagine
go his own way.
Imagine it was similar to the third film in the X-Men trilogy.
Oh, where Bryan Singer stepped away.
Yeah, and it was Brett Ratner.
Horrible. So this is a quote from Raimi.
That film did suck. The third X-Men.
It did.
I had all 3 on DVD, and the third one was shit. Not good.
Awful. Okay, here's a quote from Raimi about what happened.
Ooh, okay, go on.
It really was the most amicable and undramatic of breakups. It was simple that we had a deadline and I couldn't get the story to work on a level that I wanted it to work. I was very unhappy with Spider-Man 3 and I wanted to make Spider-Man 4 to end on a very high note, the best Spider-Man of them all. But I couldn't get the script together in time due to my own failings, and I said to Sony, I don't want to make a movie that's less than great, so I think we shouldn't make this picture. Go ahead with your reboot, you've been planning it anyway. Which is fair enough. I feel if I was him, I'd be a bit annoyed that they were very clearly planning to move the franchise on without him.
Yeah.
When he was technically still on to do it.
That sounds snaky. I'll say that.
It does a bit. It does sound like Sony snaked him.
Oh, yeah, I've just seen that note on the...
yes. Where did that come from?
Yeah, sorry. I said it. That was off the dome, bro. For real.
It's crazy. Because it was that Spider-Man trilogy was kind of the foundations of what we now expect. And even though obviously it wasn't the first big superhero franchise, it was definitely the most popular at that time. And it's a shame it didn't get to conclude in the way the director wanted, although he is now directing the Doctor Strange sequel.
He's back with Marvel in a sense.
With Spider-Man now being a collaboration between Sony and Marvel, who knows? And the film is called Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. So who knows whether we'll get something.
I did like the first one. I thought Scott Derrickson, is his name, right?
Yeah.
Scott Derrickson was an interesting choice with his sort of he'd done a few horror films, hadn't he?
Yeah, Sinister. He did.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, that was pretty big. Everyone, a lot of people saw that.
I really want to watch that. It's been on my list for so long.
And then he did that film with Eric Bana. I can't remember what it was called. It was like a genuine New York, like paranormal activity detective or something.
Ooh.
Deliver Us from Evil, I think.
I've heard that.
And he did that, I believe.
I think he walked away from Doctor Strange.
And that was sort of creative differences. So the exact same story as Edgar Wright's Ant-Man. Edgar Wright's Ant-Man would have been. I think Marvel fumbled the bag there.
They did a bit. They need to start getting on more acclaimed directors, and I think they are doing that now. To be fair,
I think they are, and I also think you've got to let them have their freedom.
Yeah,
I think you've got to trust. I think you've got to trust the director, and I think Eric Bana is why I said that. Edgar Wright's Ant-Man would have been better. 100%, because it would have been his vision and Eric. Oh, fuck off! Who is Eric Wright? Who is Eric Wright? Eric Wright, if you're listening, apologies. Edgar Wright would have delivered a film that was completely his vision, and it would have been, I imagine, up to the standards. And I think that's why Taika Waititi was really a really good choice.
Yeah, I think that's him doing Thor's probably changed it a bit. I do feel like now.
Yeah, I think
they're trying to get more individuals in than
absolutely. I think
people who will just churn out what they want. Which I enjoy. Absolutely. I enjoy what they churn out, but it would be nice.
You do. I'm of the opinion that I can, whenever I watch one of their films, I can see that this has sort of, in a sense, been churned out.
Yeah, it does. The allegory
there's a formula.
It's a TV show.
Formula. Yeah.
They are episodes of a TV show. They're not really, and the ones that are good are the ones that don't feel like that.
Absolutely.
Your Guardians of the Galaxies.
Yeah, your Guardians of the Galaxies, your Thor Ragnaroks.
Spider-Man Homecoming.
Haven't seen it.
Great film. Well, that's actually quite a nice wrap-up to Spider-Man, to come back to that. Incredible conversation from us. Go on.
So I guess that means it's me.
It is indeed.
Unfortunately, I do have another sequel, I said so, to a David Fincher film. This time, it's... If you were listening last week, thanks if you were. This was my third favourite film of all time, I believe. I gave it in the rankings. The Social Network sequel. It's been discussed between the big players in the film, Sorkin, Fincher, and he. When was this? So a year and a half ago, he did an interview in which he stated. He said he's got more than one email saying, "Isn't it time for a sequel?" And this is a direct quote, I'm quoting here. "First of all, I know a lot more about Facebook in 2005 than I do in 2018, but I know enough to know that there should be a sequel." And I think he says a lot of very interesting dramatic stuff has happened since the movie ends with settling the lawsuit from the Winklevoss and twins and Eduardo Saverin. And that's absolutely true. Facebook is it's not only one of the biggest websites on the internet, but it's also now a serious topic of contention in terms of the article I'm reading here talks about Cambridge Analytica, which was a huge scandal of which Facebook was at the heart. And I think there's so much stuff that they could really dive into with a Social Network sequel. With obviously Jesse Eisenberg back, I imagine Andrew Garfield wouldn't really have a role.
As you say, it would probably take such a different route.
Yeah, exactly.
It would be really interesting to see how they do it.
And that is why I think would work, because it would be sort of completely original in the sense that this is a sequel based on true events to a sequel to a film that was based on true events, and that story has in real life evolved in a way that I think a lot of people didn't expect.
Yeah.
And then this is the film we show now. I think it's brilliant. And I think if Fincher came back, I think if Aaron Sorkin came back, Jesse Eisenberg would obviously have to come back. I'd be all for Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross returning. If you basically get the key players back for a sequel, however many years later, and I think it would be such... In this moment, in this literal historical moment that we are currently living in, it would be such an important film, I think.
It would. I would really like that.
It would be brilliant. And I think a lot of people...
you never really get sequels to that sort of real life.
Yeah, and it would. That's what I mean. It would be completely original, but if they take historical events and twist it in a way that Aaron Sorkin does so well, in terms of taking the facts and then translating that into a really vivid and fascinating story.
Yeah.
I think it could be so powerful and a real moment of our time sort of picture.
Those two as a film would be a time capsule for not only how Facebook's changed, but our impression of Facebook.
It would be so fucking good. Sorry, that had to happen.
Got to do it.
And I think it would be a smart business move. I think Aaron Sorkin would. He's already talked about the fact that he sort of could. He could definitely get into sort of writing about that. David Fincher. The thing is, I think because Social Network is so good, you don't really want to tarnish that reputation.
No.
So it would have to be perfect. In a way.
It would, but if they're on it and they've got the passion to do it, I'd be shocked if it doesn't happen at some point. It's such an important topic. I do agree. So that is my second sequel that should happen. Very nice. Well, there's 4 there. Hollywood, if you're listening. Yeah, we've given you the ideas. We've done your job for you. Just get it done. Absolutely. Before we say goodbye, let's rattle through anything this week you've seen you want to mention. Well, this week? This week. I've got one, and I don't want to talk about it much because I know you've yet to see it. Is this bait? This is bait, yeah. I was actually going to watch it today, but events transpired. I didn't watch it. I really want to watch it. I'm ready to go with all 4. I want to watch it. It's going to happen. We will talk about it next week, I promise. Yeah. So therefore, I don't want to say anything. I'll just say I loved it. You loved it. That's my recommendation. For anyone, it's on all 4 right now for free to stream. It's fantastic. Probably my favourite film of last year. One of my favourite British films. Full stop. Oh wow! So 100 trillion %. That's high praise. It is indeed. Well, I've got a few films that are on this week. There's 3. I've only actually seen one of them. Okay. But they're sort of recent films, quite famous. They'll be free to watch. There were a few that were you can't watch, but there is one I've got here. Channel 5. I haven't seen it. This is on Friday the 25th, so this will be tomorrow night if you're listening the night this comes out. Yep. 10 p.m, Channel 5, we've got Keanu Reeves starring as John Wick, who is the dying wife of a retailed assassin leaves him a puppy, in the hope that having something to love will stop him returning to a life of violence when she is gone. But when where basically the dog meets a grisly end, John Wick retaliates with violence. Vengeance. I do need to watch that. So. And it's a hugely popular action series of late. I think all the entries into the series have been relatively successful. Keanu Reeves. It's such a big franchise. Everyone likes Keanu Reeves. So that is on at 10 p.m. Channel 5. Very good. Friday the 25th. This Friday. Okay. Yeah, that's right. Well, I'll be there. I'll be checking it out. I'll give it a watch. I saw Bill and Ted as well, not the new one. The original was on TV this week. Good. Another good Keanu. I haven't seen many Keanu films, but John Wick's one of those things I've always wanted to get into, but just haven't. Maybe this is the chance. Right. Okay. Well, I think that's everything. Anything you want to say before we say our goodbyes? I want to say thank you. Yeah, thanks to everyone for listening. We got quite a brisk episode this week, which is good. Yeah, people are busy. We don't want to take up too much. Thanks for listening to the end if you are listening. It's lovely to have you here. Yeah, we love you. Leave a comment if you want to get a shout out next week as well. Email, please. Shout you out. Email, get in touch, go on. Okay. Ollie, it's been a pleasure as always. As always. Thank you very much, thatfilmbloguk. You're very welcome, my friend. Thanks everyone for listening. Cheers. Goodbye.
Stay safe.